Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone, if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Jillian Parker on the podcast. She's coming to us all the way from Nova Scotia, where I don't even know if we've had another guest on from Nova Scotia. We might have had. When you have this many guests, you kind of lose track. Actually, I really do think we have, but yeah, she's on here to share her health and fitness journey and to discuss all things health and fitness. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Jillian, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's going to be great.
Well, before I even get into anything else, you're in the 2 hour time difference than, a lot of guests on the East Coast. You have that extra hour. Does that ever mess things up for you? Because it's very rare that I've even dealt with people that are 2 hours ahead as opposed to just the regular 1 hour ahead for the East Coast.
No, I'm pretty used to it now because a lot of my job, people work in the different time zones. So,
Yeah, because I'm not going to lie, I've had only a handful of times on this podcast where I literally just got the time zone thing wrong. Normally, I'm really, really good at it. But then again, when I'm talking to some of those Aussies and that's like a 15 to 18 hour time difference, and you're just like,
a lot.
come on, people. Well, then I'm talking to someone from Slovakia right after you, and that's a 7 hour time difference. So it's going to be, it's going to be like 7:30 there and like 12:30 here. So yeah, it's the amount of things. And then I'm having an American on later in the night too. So we're going Canadian, Slovakian, American here. So we're getting, three countries done in one day all at once. But before we get into all that, Jillian, what?
You have a full roster.
Oh my God. Jeez. I'm 48 of the 50 states I've talked to in the U.S. And then I've talked to all the provinces now with Canada because I had my first Quebecois on a couple weeks ago, and now Nova Scotian, so I can definitely cross that one out. Although Northwest Territories, I will say, I don't even count that as a province though, but like, who are you going to get as a bodybuilder or a fitness person up there anyway? So, but before we get into that whole tangent, Jillian, why don't you first, to get us started, give us your backstory on what inspired and motivated you to get in shape and how that led to you becoming a bodybuilder?
All right. Well, thank you. So my bodybuilding experience has been short for the most part. I've only been bodybuilding for about 4 years now. However, my fitness journey started a long, long time ago. So about 2011, I was at the heaviest I had ever been. I was extremely unhappy. I was depressed. I had anxiety. I couldn't really move very well. I was upwards about 300 pounds. So I knew at that point in my life that I needed to make a change. So I bought a treadmill and I hopped on the treadmill and I started walking. At the time, though, I couldn't really walk very far or do much physical activity because I had some issues with my lower legs that would cramp up really bad and cause some issues. So it was just really defeating for a long time. I tried every fad diet you could ever think of. Nothing ever worked. I would kind of yo-yo back and forth, up 20, down 20, here around, everywhere. So that kind of went on for a really long time. And probably about 5 years, I kind of went up and down. And then in 2016, I joined a cardio kickboxing gym for women only. And it kind of just really changed my outlook on life. So I got in there. It was like a circuit format. So you went in, you knew exactly what you had to do. There was a trainer there to always motivate you. And it was just a lovely experience to be around other like positive, uplifting women and try to get a little bit of that confidence back. So there I worked out for about a year there, and I wouldn't say maxed out my potential, but kind of learned everything I had learned. And I decided to become a trainer. So I wanted to give back and kind of show other women and inspire other women that, you can do it. You can change your life, your mindset. At that time, I really hadn't lost a whole lot of weight, like being there, probably about 30 pounds. It's still great, it's still amazing. However, I still had a long ways to go. And just becoming a trainer there just really changed everything for me. It gave me more opportunities to meet people, socialize, learn other people's stories, motivate, inspire. It was just really rewarding all the way around. However, in the end, I was there for about probably like 3 or 4 years ish, and I had plateaued. So I wasn't losing any more weight, nothing was working anymore. And I knew I wanted more, and I didn't know how to get it or how to achieve it. And I just was following this girl one of my friends on Instagram, and she had partnered up with a bodybuilding coach, and she was just getting amazing results. And I just loved her journey. So I reached out to the coach. She's actually from Nova Scotia, but she's virtual online because she lives out west now. And we just hit it off. And I just started with the lifestyle program. So this all happened in 2019 or late, I guess November of 2019. So I started going to the gym, working hard, eating the diet plan, and I was like a lifestyle client at that point in time. And then obviously COVID had hit. And all the gyms were shut down and everything, and you were kind of stuck confined to your house. So I converted my basement into a full home gym with things I could, and I went out and bought some pieces and some free weights, and I just worked as hard as I could, did my cardio, followed the plan to a T, and trusted my coach, and we just did some incredible body recomposition during a whole year. So it was just kind of like amazing how like I changed so much. I really didn't lose a whole lot of weight in that time frame, and it wasn't more like weight on the scale because I had was my body was changing. It was recompositioning. So I was getting more muscle, but I was losing fat. So I was getting the results I wanted. So anyway, about a year into it, my boyfriend at the time was being deployed through the Navy for a 7-month deployment. I had always dreamed it was like a life, like a young childhood dream to always compete because I always watched bodybuilders. But being upwards of 300 pounds, is that really ever going to happen for me? Probably not, right? So, and I've never even worn a bikini to the beach. So, you know, anyways, I reached out to the coach and I said, do you think this would be good for me? Like, do you think I'm a good fit? Do I have the potential? And she says, yes, you 110% have the potential to do this, and let's go for it. So I embarked on a huge 26-week prep and just I followed everything to a T. I went, I did everything I was supposed to do. I trusted the process. I gave it everything I had, and I was able to lose 40 plus pounds during that prep and over 25 inches. And I signed up originally for the transformation challenge at that time, and I won that. So that was amazing. And I came third in my true novice class and fourth in the open class. So it was a good experience. I was so excited. It was wonderful to meet some people, gain that confidence, wear that bikini on stage, things like that. And then just after that, the fire was just lit. It was just, let's go for it. Right. So my next year, I dove into it. Worked hard as I could through my off season. Tried to build as much muscle as I could. Being a first time competitor and coming from the background that I had and my relationship with food and things like that, I did struggle in my off season to kind of keep my body fat low. So that was really hard. So when I came around to do the next prep, I did have to lose quite a bit of weight again. So I did another 24-week prep. And yeah, and I worked really, really hard. And I came back that year and did the same show, and I came first in my class, and I won the overall in the wellness category. So it was pretty phenomenal. I had never thought in a million years I would ever win a bodybuilding competition, let alone even place. And my coach and I decided that I would head off to the Natural Canada Pro Qualifier 3 weeks later because she thought I had a shot. So I went up there and I came second in my class. It was so amazing. It was like the best experience of my life. And then now I'm in year 3, and I just competed at the regional New Brunswick natural show on July the 15th. I needed to gain my master's qualification there, so that's where I did that show. And I came overall again in the wellness category, so that was amazing. And then I headed up to the Natural Canada Pro Qualifier again on August the 5th, and I came first in my class, second in masters, and then I came second to the card, the pro card. So it was pretty exciting, pretty awesome. Sad that I missed it by just a little bit, but I'm gonna go back next year and give it everything I got. and I'm a little bit of a, slightly addicted maybe because I continuing prep still, because there's a show at the end of this month, actually September the 30th. However, it's an open show because I am a natural athlete, and so I'm going to give it everything I got. I'm already lean, so we have a plan. I'll have to qualify regionally there for the open, and then I'm going to head off to Toronto again for the pro qualifier and see what happens.
That is awesome and a lot to take in for that. But I do got to ask this first of all, because you're the first person that I really think I can ask, because you said you've done so many of the fad diets. And I've always wanted to ask this question to someone that's done a lot of them, even though you said most of them, didn't really do much. But out of the fad diets that you did, what was the most effective and what was the least effective, if you can remember?
Oh, geez. Um, I don't know. I've done a few, right? And then I've also spoken with like a lot. I've also worked with a lot of coaches who just, back in the day it was calories in versus calories out, right? As long as you only eat 1,200 calories a day, you're good. You're golden. You'll lose weight. No, that's not how it works. Like it matters what type of food you put in your body and how you fuel it, right? So that was a big learning experience for me. For fad diets, I did isogenics. That one was rough. That was a rough go. Yeah, I was drinking the shakes, doing the 2-day cleanse with the fasting. I mean, if fasting works for you, that's great. However, I will never again fast in my life. People always ask me, "Don't you eat past 8 o'clock?" Of course I do. I eat right before I go to bed. It's great. Yeah. So I say isogenics was probably one of the worst ones. Um, and then I guess one of the best ones, I guess you could call it a fad diet, would be like the keto. I did do that, but I did it in more of a healthier way as opposed to like, because, you do hear some horror story, people just eating bacon and butter and stuff. Well, no, I stuck to some quality foods, but that one probably worked the best.
And what has this whole journey been like for you mentally? Because one of the things that I found fascinating is when I talk to people that did maybe start off with that obese physique, you come to identify yourself just as like either the fat person or the overweight person. And now that you're not, do you have any problems getting sort of away from that mindset? And how have you just dealt with this whole journey?
Yes, so 100%. To me, I don't look the way I look in the mirror right now. Like, I think of myself as, still around probably 220, 240 pounds. That's kind of where I sat for a really long time. So to me, I'll always be over 200 pounds, like, unless I'm walking by the mirror. So, it kind of might sound bad, but I love the gym because there's mirrors everywhere and I can see myself. I can see the muscles that I built, lines that I've developed, just the hard work that I put in. So, um, yeah, it's weird because unless I look in the mirror, it's not that's not who I see or who I think I am. And, people always compliment me now or like, say things, and I just don't see it. It's hard. Um, I'm getting better, but it is definitely a mind struggle, I would say. Yeah.
Well, and this is not a quick fix. How did you deal with the fact that this is not something that's going to be achieved overnight? Because so many people, like I talked to you about before we started recording the podcast, so many people think that they've dug themselves such a deep hole and that it would just take too long to really see any changes. That's one of the reasons why they don't get started. But how did you deal with the fact that this is a delayed gratification lifestyle?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is, I mean, like, I was so heavy and so depressed and so down that I just didn't want to be like that. Like, who wants to live like that, right? So, you know, you only get one life, one shot. You might as well give it everything you have. And I just decided I didn't want to be that person, not only physically but mentally. Like, I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be positive. I wanted to think different. I wanted to have a good relationship with food and exercise and, everything. Like, back in the day, you always had to do like 1,000 hours of cardio. Well, that's not a thing, right? So I guess the biggest thing is, you have to look at it. Is instant gratification better than long term reward? And the answer has to be no. So, you eat a piece of cake and sure, it tastes amazing. But how long does it taste good for? 5 seconds? 10 seconds? and then it's gone, right? So, I just kind of had to start looking at food as fuel for my body as opposed to a reward for something that, I did good or like, oh, I'm happy or I'm sad or tied to an emotion, right? So now if I'm sad or if I'm angry or anything like that, I try to, deal with that in a positive way. So I either go to the gym or I go for a walk or I try to like breathe and just like meditate, I guess, in my own way. Um, you just kind of have to think of it like, you know, if you don't start today, right? Now you're just prolonging it. So, if you started today, 5 years is still going to pass. So whether you do this within 5 years or you don't do it within 5 years, time is still going to go by. So you might as well do something that you want for yourself, something that you can achieve and be proud of. And I mean, the only thing I could tell you is that the reward is just amazing, right? Like you'll never just to put in that hard work, consistency, and like dedication is just something that no one can ever take away from you.
What have been some of the reactions that you got from maybe people that have known you before you lost all the weight and maybe seen you now? I mean, that's got to be a great feeling, at least for you.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, I must say. I have my core group of friends and family that, are just extremely, extremely supportive. I wouldn't be who I am today without them or where I am actually, like, because it really does take a strong support team to go through a transformation like this, right? Not only because it's physically demanding, but it's also extremely mentally demanding. And um, you definitely learn who your friends are, who your true friends are, and then who's not there and who doesn't support your transformation or what you're going through or your goals, right? So I think is also one of those things is when you get older in life, you just come to realize that some people are meant to come into your life for a reason, some people are meant to leave for a reason, and everyone has like their piece that they touch in your life, and then you move forward. So uh, my friends and family that have been with me through everything are extremely proud of me. It's you know everyone says of how inspiring I am and things like that. Like, I do see it, but I also don't, right? It's to me it's just something I had to do. So
And this is also a selfish sport, if we're being completely honest. Like, it's very time consuming. You have to give selfish in a good way. I always got to add that asterisk because I'm not saying like selfish, like, oh, that person's just selfish. I'm saying it's selfish in the time commitment that it requires from someone. And did you struggle at all with having to find a way to balance your life? Because this is so much more of a time commitment than I think most people in the general public understand.
yeah, so the time commitment, not only just for the gym, but for like meal prep, cardio, like stretching, doing like everything. It's yes, it's extremely time consuming and it requires a lot of personal sacrifice. Uh, did I have a lot of FOMO for a long time? Yeah, I did. My friends are out partying, having fun, drinking, eating whatever they want. Here I am following around with my lunch bag. You know what I mean? So, but if you have the right people around you and they understand, that it makes you happy and it's what you want, then people are really usually pretty supportive. Um, but yeah, time commitment, it's a lot, and you know, I just think that you just have to find the right people to connect with, right? So you know,
Is there a noise in the background somewhere?
yeah, someone's vacuuming their car.
Oh, no worries. Vacuuming their car. Come on, people. Let's you got to pay someone to do that at least or something like that. That takes
Right?
No, I do that before. Yeah. Yeah, I actually do that probably like once or twice a year myself, but all right, so I'll just mark the time down just so I know when to edit that last part out. All right, so I will go ahead then in 3, 2, 1. But we also got to talk about genetics on the podcast because unfortunately, no one's built the same. Everyone always has that one body part when they first start working out that really, really takes off that they don't have to train as much. And then everyone always has that one body part that just drags behind that they have to train to oblivion. What was one body part that took off for you? And what's been one body part that you've had to drag behind?
So I've always had beautiful calves. They're extremely genetic, and my mom has the exact same legs. She's never worked out a day in her life. So everyone, no matter where I go, bodybuilding community or not, it's you have amazing calves. So um, yeah, I do. I don't. I actually don't even train them because they get to. Is that upsetting? It upsets a lot of people, to be honest.
Calves are my number. Like I would, yeah.
I,
I
I
almost want to shut this down right now because it's like, good God. But yeah, that I'm 6'3", so at least I have a little bit of an excuse where it's kind of hard to do. But like, still, it is. I could do 10,000 calf raises a day. I could inject pure muscle into them. They're not growing.
Yeah. No, a lot of people have the same issue. Yeah, I know. Just genetically blessed there. I don't even work them out because I actually, like I was told you at the beginning of the podcast, there I had some lower leg issues, and if I do actually train them, the cramping is just unreal. So, so yeah, so that's one. So that's great. Don't have to worry about those. And then I wouldn't say is like lagging behind because I, have developed quite well. However, I had pancake butt. So completely flat, no butt whatsoever. It was actually one of the issues that I had back in the days that I went and saw a physiotherapist, and he told me that I propelled my body using my calf muscles and my legs. So that's why my calves were so big and etc. So I had to actually relearn how to walk properly, like my gait, and activate my glute muscles to propel my body. So that was interesting. But so I've worked extremely, extremely hard to build glute size, and I still continue to this day to just, I do glutes every second day. So I'll put it that way.
I'm honestly at the point right now with calves where I'm just thinking about gaining 150 pounds myself because just having to lug around your body like that is going to develop your calves anyway, and then just losing it all. I might just have to. That might be the only solution, because I've talked to people that might like you might have started off a little obese and they got down, but it's like, and they all have nice calves. So I don't know if it's just maybe because when you're hugging around all that extra weight, it has to get developed. But again, that is the never ending. I mean, I've talked to some of the most in shape people on the planet, and you look at their calves and you're like, God, those are just like chicken. They're just like chicken legs. Like it's just absolutely ridiculous. So I need to bring more awareness to that. But yeah, you are one of like very like probably you're like the sixth guest I've ever had that calves is their one body part that really took off. So count your blessings. I guess you're one of the well, you technically are one of the 1%ers then, I guess, if we count all the episodes that I've done. So at least you got congratulations on that. But what is your relationship like with cardio? Because obviously in your weight loss journey you've had to do a lot of cardio, and I hate cardio more than life myself. I go for walks all the time, but unfortunately when you become a bodybuilder, you kind of deal with the devil when it comes to doing cardio. What is your relationship like with cardio?
I hate it. I hate it. Who doesn't hate cardio? But actually,
The only people that don't that I've talked to are usually the ex-marathon runners or the people like that, and I'm like, okay, you're sick in the mind. So,
anyone that runs a marathon, I don't know. You got something wrong. No, just teasing.
oh no, I
Um,
agree with you 1,000,000% on that. My goal one of these days is that I want to go to the end of a marathon and just hold a sign that said, "You didn't need to do this." Just
it's so true. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, Cardi and I were not friends. But like you said, it's one of those things that has to be done to be part of the bodybuilding competitive side. And yeah, like for example, right now I have to do 700 calories of cardio a day. It just takes me about 75 minutes. I just crank up the treadmill to about, the incline, and I just walk. Like I said, like, with the lower body issues, like the cramping and stuff, I can't really jog or anything. So it's either treadmill, walking, or the elliptical. I find with the elliptical, it kind of maybe slims out my bottom half too much. So walking it is. It just takes forever. That's the worst.
and how are you dealing with? I mean, we talked about the reactions from your friends and whatnot, but like just walking down the street, because probably when you were on the beginning of your journey, you would still get reactions just because you were a little bit on the heavier side, but now you're getting reactions because you're in amazing shape. What is that like dealing with that? Just the opposite of the reaction that you might get, because like we talked about before, where people sometimes still like identify themselves as an obese person, but now you're getting reactions for the exact opposite of what you're getting reactions like maybe like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's everywhere I go, people comment on like, "Oh wow, your biceps are beautiful. Oh, your calves are amazing. Oh, your shoulders, look at those." Like, you should be so proud. Look at your body. Like, seeing people that see me all the time, for example, even at the gym, right? Like they're like, "Oh, your body's changing so much every day." Like, when I go out, like, in public, I find actually when I go out in public, and I'm dressed up like pretty or nice or whatever, um, I'm almost kind of embarrassed. I don't know. I don't want to say embarrassed, but like I always feel like everyone's looking at me, and it's kind of weird because like when you're heavier, you're like everyone's looking at me because I'm heavy and I'm obese, and then now people are looking at me because I'm muscular and the 1% around, right? Like, you know what I mean? So it was two different extremes, and yeah, it is different. It is very different. But I much prefer these compliments and this attention much more.
I mean, if I meet someone that says the opposite of that, I don't know really what to tell them if I'm being completely honest. But when it also comes to the hardest thing in this lifestyle, I don't care what anyone says, and it's one thing that took me forever to really figure it out is posing. A lot of times it's hard to see. We get that reaction every single time. What is your relationship like with posing?
So when I very first started, I had no idea what I was doing, obviously. And I just YouTubed it and I watched the Olympians. That was the first year for the Olympian wellness division. And I just mimicked what they did. I just videotaped it over and over and over again, my routine, and I just played it back and I just tried my hardest, and I have a really good stage presence. That's always one thing that all the judges always say to me, other competitors, and so that's really great. I work really hard at it. I usually pose every day that I train, for about 10 to 15 minutes minimum, just to, like rock it out a little bit. And then I also teach posing. We have a posing clinic that we have here every Saturday, so I help with that. So I teach the wellness girls. That kind of really keeps me kind of up to date, current, and working on it. So I like that.
What would you say is the biggest mistake that clients of yours make when they get started in posing?
For the wellness girls, it's the squatting. Yeah, a lot of them like to squat when they're doing a pose, like either the back pose or the side pose, trying to activate or show off their hamstrings and their glutes and stuff. Well, there's a fine line there between actually showing it off and looking silly.
Yep. And where do you think that that stage presence comes from? Because that's a rare talent that not a lot of people have.
It's pure confidence, and not to say that I have a lot of it. Um, I try really hard.
If you get too cocky on this podcast, I'll just bring up body dysmorphia and I'll level the playing field right now.
Yeah, no, I've been working on my confidence for a really long time. So, you know, for example, the second year that I went back and I won my first overall, the entire day of the show, all I said to myself over and over in my head is, "You worked hard. You deserve to be here. So you go out there and you show them what you did and what you accomplished." Right? And that's all I said to myself over and over for 8 hours straight. Practiced my posing, and then I went out and I nailed it. So, I think it's just something. It's self-taught, like, or self-talk, and you know how you how you view yourself. So, and you work so hard for so long, and you get like 15 seconds to show it off. You have to just give it everything you got.
How do you keep yourself somewhat regimented after post show? Because after dieting for as long as you do, and especially if you have a history of like eating a little bit more too, like I would be the first person to admit, like I would just pig out to an like I've made this joke a million times, but I haven't made it like in the last 2 years of the podcast. I would just rent out a Five Guys and tell them, here's like $10,000. You're going to feed me until I either die, puke, or pass out. But either way, I'm getting my money's worth. Like, how do you try to stay regimented during post show after going through all of this extreme weight changes that happen throughout the year?
Yeah, post show 100% is way harder than prep. If anyone tells you different, I don't know. Because when you're in prep, there's a goal. There's an end in sight. With off season, there's obviously a goal, but it's so far out that it's not really like, you're not really looking at it like that. Um, for me, the biggest thing is that I continue with my coach year round. So I never come off my meal plan and I never stop training or doing my cardio. So, like, because some people, they'll just go with a coach for as long as the prep is, and then that's it. So no, I properly reverse into my off season, and then in the off season, I do try my hardest to follow the off season plan. Like you said, though, life gets in the way, and fun things happen, Christmas, birthdays, whatever. So, like, am I perfect? No. Do I try my hardest? Yes. Have I messed up? Yes. But I think each year it gets a little bit better and it gets easier and the focus is there more. And for example, this year coming up, I have a couple like mini goals in between my next big goal. So I feel like those will help me like maintain a good body weight.
And speaking of just those days where you just don't feel like doing it, you just want to give up, how do you push through mentally on those days? Because that's what differentiates, in my opinion, the general public from a competitor. Is that the general public, I mean, they'll find a million ways to get out of it. And I've been guilty on that multiple times. And I know every guest I talk to has been guilty of that on some occasions as well. No one's ever pushed through on every single day, but on the vast majority of those days, I should say, how do you find that strength and willingness to keep going even when your mind and your body's just telling you like, hey, let's just take a break?
Yeah. Um, for me, it's just I have that big goal. I want that pro card. So for me, I just, I'm like, if you don't get up and go, someone else is going to outwork you. So, I go to the gym, and if it's not the greatest workout, it's not the greatest workout. Do I beat myself up over it? No, because you know what? I made it to the gym. I did the best I could do that day, and then tomorrow's a new day. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm also very in tune with my body. So like if I need my rest day, like if it doesn't align, it's not perfect. So say like because I work out 6 days a week, and then my seventh day is a rest day. If it doesn't align perfectly and I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I just take my rest day within those 6 days. And then I know when I go back the next day, I feel fresh and I'm ready and I just continue, right? So I just kind of move my rest day around as my body feels it. Some days, sometimes, like every couple months or whatever, I do need a double rest day, and I know when that happens, and I just take it. It's your body, you're pushing your body to the limit, and sometimes like honestly, rest does me good. So
What is your favorite thing to do on a rest day?
nothing. I'm a goer. I like to do lots of stuff. So like if I'm not doing cardio, bodybuilding, like whatever, like in the gym, just always doing something like doing a project, renovating my house. Like I'm a crazy lady. Like before, like in like May and June, I was renovating my basement apartment for a tenant to move in, and that was like a full blown reno, well in the middle of prep. So that was intense. I don't recommend it. But yeah, I'm a doer, so I just do lots of stuff all the time.
Meanwhile, me, after all the podcasts I've had to do these last 2 weeks, because for some reason I've had to do the most I've ever done in a 2 week span that I've ever done this podcast, and all the working out and all of my real job that I have, you will find me not moving an inch from my couch for the next, I mean, probably 12 hours on Saturday and 12 hours on Sunday. So good luck finding me doing that. Anything else? So, that's the little difference there. But if there was a talent portion in a bodybuilding show, what would your talent be? Like, we're talking like it could be any talent, like music, arts, anything.
Talent, oh geez. Um, I don't know. What a hard question.
I just thought of it recently on a podcast, and I was like, how did it take me this long to figure that out? Because they were talking about like how they used to do beauty pageants and there were talent portions. And I was like, it took me that long to figure out a good question like that.
Uh, I think my talent would be something crafty. I'm extremely crafty. So I like to make things, build things, decorate things. I don't know. So I'd have to
Watch this bodybuilder build a birdhouse.
bring my cricket along with
Yeah.
me.
Hey, that's not a bad. Hey, believe me, we have heard worse answers than that. See, I got tongue tied and twisted right there, everyone. It was going to happen eventually. I could just tell this wasn't going to be one of those immaculate podcasts. But if someone were to also walk up to you, Jillian, and say, you can change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding, and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing you'd like to see changed?
Um, there's a couple things.
You can do as many as you want, if I'm being completely honest.
It's a little political. So I would, try to remove that portion of it. I know things like that never go away, but it's unfortunate. But it is what it is. Um, Honestly, this is probably, people aren't going to like this, but I'm a natural bodybuilder. I think the natural stream should be promoted way more. I think that there should be more money invested into the natural stream. It's very important because, there's lots of very young competitors. Like I'm older, I'm 35. So, but there are very young people getting into this sport, like early 20s, even younger.
Which, I'm
And
sorry, I got to get into a tangent about that. Nothing makes me more upset. I'm 29, and anytime I've had guests on that are like 19 or 20, I don't get mad at them, but inside I'm mad because I'm like, dude, just live your life.
right,
Go out, party, drink. You have your entire rest of your life to get in shape and do bodybuilding. It's like when you're in college and a bodybuilder, I couldn't think of a more depressing thing in my entire life, if I'm being completely honest. It's like, dude, have fun. Like, and they always, sometimes when I mention that to them, they're like, well, that is fun for me. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with you then. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, there are some people like that probably need that focus and stuff, but I do agree. Like you should have some fun and when you're younger and stuff. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But I think just when you're that young and you're taking enhancements to bulk your body or tighten your body, I just don't agree with that. I think that you should max out your natural potential first. And then once you've done that, then if that's the next route for you, then that is the path that you should go on. But in the beginning, I feel like you should try your hardest, work your hardest in the gym, follow your diet plan, and your results will come if you work hard. So.
yeah, I know a guy personally that doesn't even work out and he takes a lot of stuff. So I don't even understand, what the point is by that. But hey, my whole thing with the drugs has always been, it still takes the hard work. I the only problem that I have is when people promote themselves as being natural when they aren't. That's the only or when they say do my workout program and you look just like me and it's like, dude, you have veins coming out of your veins. Basically, it's like your skin is literally like there's no fat in it. It's like, come on, like let's. So that's the only problem that I really have with it too. But yeah, I agree. It's especially with the younger people. It's like damage is permanent for a lot of cases, and if you're going to ruin yourself at 19 to 20, you have another maybe 60, 70 years to to deal with that consequence. So it's, yeah, I do your research too is always, one thing that I, like to put out there as well. But for someone who might be, on the heavier side too, might be listening to this podcast, what advice do you have for them just to get started on their journey?
Just do it. Um, Sit down, take a hard look at your life, decide if this is who you want to be, this is where you want to be in your life, how happy you are, you know, what makes you happy. So, like, obviously, bodybuilding wasn't in my, you know, spectrum when I had first started this journey, right? Like, I never thought I'd be a bodybuilder, but I just wanted to be different, wanted to be happy, and you just have to make that decision in your mind. No one can make it for you. It's something you have to decide, and just make the change. Do little things each day that add up. And I can honestly say that meal prepping your food is one of the biggest things that can save anyone. And I don't mean you have to go full out and make all kinds of different things or whatever, but like, you know, cook your chicken a little bit in advance and have this vegetable readily available or whatever, so that, when you go to the fridge, you can grab a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's not, okay, there's nothing available for me to eat. I have to cook it. I'm just going to grab this nasty snack and eat it. Right. So, I think meal prepping is one of the biggest keys to success. It all comes down to food. Anyone can go to the gym and work out. You know what I mean? Like, and have some results. It comes down to the food, right? So I think it's just one of those things that you have to decide for yourself that this is a change you want to make, and then you just go for it. Don't look back. Don't sit there and think, well, this is never going to happen. It's never going to work. If you put the work in, if you try hard, go to the gym, walk, things like that, the results will come.
And what, in your personal opinion, makes a coach a good coach? Because there are so many bad coaches out there, if I'm being completely honest. And I've found that just from talking to so many people. And I honestly do believe that they outnumber the good coaches. And everyone has their own personal preferences when it comes to coaching. But in your individual case, what, in your opinion, makes a coach a good coach?
So I've been with the same coach since I've started. And yes, looking around, talking to people, I've heard some horror stories. And I can honestly say I've never had that issue with my coach. She is just phenomenal. Like, she cares about the athletes. She would never put me on stage or push my body to the limit where she would hurt me or, do damage or, think like even my first competition, like, she wouldn't have let me go up there if I wasn't ready or embarrass myself. Right. So I think that's one of the biggest things is don't choose someone who, that you're like, okay, I'll help you get ready in 16 weeks to do this show. That's not how it works. Everyone is very different. Just because prep is usually 16 weeks doesn't mean that's how long it takes, right? Like, my first one was 26 and then 24 weeks, you know what I mean? So each one's different. Um, and then you need someone that's going to follow through with you after the show, right? Reverse diet is extremely, extremely important, way more than like the prep and the off season, right? Like, you need to bring your body back to regular levels, and you just need the support. Someone who can answer your questions when you have one, who doesn't make you feel stupid or silly, someone that can talk you down off the ledge when you're having a bad day. It just comes down to the relationship. Also, as a female, I feel like, having a female coach really helps me because, she understands me more, my hormones, my body, things like that. Um,
Yeah, I've always found it weird, male coaches for females, because that's like me writing a book on pregnancy and just being like, yeah, I'm the number one expert on what it feels. It is. I mean, obviously there have been some successful male coaches with female competitors, and there's actually quite a lot of them. But for me, it's always just been like, if you don't know what it's like to have those hormones and to go through that, it's like you can't really be like, oh yeah, just take this, you'll be fine, or oh yeah, suck it up. Basically, it's like, well, yeah, I've never got that myself.
yeah. No, you need to. Yeah, you need someone who understands you. Also, one of the other biggest things that I want to throw out there is respect for each other. So, she's putting in her work on her side. She expects you to put the work in on your side, and be honest. If you're not honest and you're just like, oh yeah, I was 100% on plan, and you don't tell them what actually happened, how is that person supposed to help you, right? So it all comes down to honesty and respect, and I think in the end.
Absolutely. And when we do have you on in a year, because I'd love to have you back on in a year just to give us an update on what you've been up to, where would you like to be at in your bodybuilding? Where would you like to be at just in your overall life? What are some goals that you'd like to have achieved?
Yes, well, I'm hoping for that pro card. So my goals for this year are, like I had mentioned earlier, I'll be going to the Open Toronto Pro Qualifier, and hopefully we'll see what happens. I'm just hoping to place top five in an Open show, to be honest, at the national level. That would be amazing. But next year, the goal is to go back to the National Canada Pro Qualifier in August and bring home the pro card. So.
That's awesome. And I can't wait to see. I honestly think you're going to do it. So I'll, have my congratulatory text ready. But again, everyone, go and give Jillian a follow on her Instagram page. I'll leave a link down below. Buyer beware. You will get inspired to get off that couch and start exercising yourself. She has a great transformation story, and I highly recommend everyone go and check it out. And again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with us. It was an absolute delight to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much. It was great. Fabulous podcast. Can't
I,
wait for the episode.
I appreciate it. Well, everyone, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.